I was 5 when I ruled my first kingdom, and spent years defending it with honor. Opponents would challenge me, but fall in defeat. I've created legends while upholding the hero's code. I've always taken games seriously. Now, I'm learning to create them.
Full Sail University Online. Your campus is everywhere.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the 40th episode of the Wowhead Weekly Podcast. My name is Panzer, and I am here with my lovely co-host, Wowhead Site Manager, Perculia.
Hey everyone, 6.2 is super busy for us, but we will be explaining all the important things you need to know in the first week and answering some questions from Twitch on how the site can help you, and we have a lot of other unrelated 6.2 news as well.
Yeah, we do.
So.
We have quite a bit of stuff to talk about today. So to kick it off, I do want to talk a little bit about San Diego Comic-Con and the cool stuff that Blizzard is going to have there. They will be in booth 115, and then with them, they are bringing, look at all these goodies. This is the WoW Funko Pop Murloc Vinyl 3-figure pack. This is the cute but deadly Shadowform Illidan figure. Then we have the Nexus Whelpling plush.
That's so cute.
So
oh my god.
Cute. And there will be other colors of that. Then there is also, this is con exclusive, not San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So there's the, like you just saw, the Demonic Tyrael. And this is the WoW Cute but Deadly Murloc Egg Backpack. Now, like I said just a second ago, oops, hi Perk. Like I said just a second ago, the Nexus Whelpling is super cute, and it's actually going to have other colors. The Nexus one, the blue one, will be exclusive for San Diego Comic-Con, but a little birdie tweeted that there will be other colors. What other colors are you looking forward to seeing, Perk?
So I don't think there'll be a pink one, but I think that'd be super cute because it's a new BRS. But I think that I would like a dark Whelpling because that's my favorite battle pet in the game. It was the first expensive pet I got. So yeah. I would love to have the plushie version of that.
Yeah, I would like anything that's like a dragon from World of Warcraft, I want it. So I'm super excited that there's more of those coming, and they're pretty reasonably priced. I don't think $25 is terrible. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that, and I'm hoping that they'll have a BlizzCon exclusive variant of that plushie as well, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by con exclusive merchandise they mean that we can get that backpack at BlizzCon because that backpack is super adorable.
Yeah, the backpack is necessary. And you know, with San Diego Comic-Con, I can't help but wonder if we're going to see a Warcraft movie trailer. Because that was like the first...
You really want that.
I want it so bad. Well, no, here's the thing. Hear me out. The Warcraft movie, like, directed by Duncan Jones, was announced at San Diego Comic-Con, and then the next year they had that like preview trailer that never even leaked to the internet, which is shocking.
That's amazing. Yeah,
like in the day and age we live in, and they always have like big presentations and stuff, and they've got to be so close to having a trailer. Like it finished filming last May. So they've got more than a year. They've got to have enough footage for a trailer. And I like, there was a lot of rumors that it was going to be Jurassic World. Jurassic World debuted 2 weeks ago, so it's about that time. Please, Duncan Jones, please.
Something I do know that they did say they wanted to announce was that apparently they're going to have even more merchandise that they did not reveal in advance. So I'm curious if that's going to be like the recolored plushies or it's going to be something totally unrelated. So I'm very excited to see whatever they're planning to reveal, and I think that the schedule recently went up for SDCC, so Blizzard's like booth and their presentation and all that is finalized. So being very excited. I wish I could go.
Yeah, I'm really wondering like what kind
of plushies in person.
I know. I really wonder what kind of stuff they're going to be announcing, because they've never really announced any game related stuff at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, I don't think that would make sense.
Almost everything we've learned about the Warcraft movie has come from Comic-Con, and I think the reason for that is that they really want the Warcraft movie to reach a broader audience than just World of Warcraft players. So Comic-Con is a really good like nerd culture environment for that. So please. Please. Then in addition to all of the merchandise we just talked about going on in San Diego Comic-Con, there is a Blizzard store sale right now. Now through July 7th, you can get 25% off of anything in the store, which is funny because when I was doing these notes, I ended up accidentally spending $50 in the Blizzard store.
What did you get?
I got both Murloc mugs. I got a new water bottle because mine got lost when I moved, and then I also got... Oh, I got something else too. Oh, I got 2 pops. I got the Murloc pop and I got
nice.
the Thrall pop because I didn't have those. So I thought I really made out like a bandit. And then
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Not bad, right? And then it's 50% off the WoW battle chest. So if you want to do Refer a Friend, now's a good time. And then 40% off of Warlords of Draenor, kind of to hype 6.2. So that's pretty cool. And then what's going on with Midsummer Perk?
Yeah, so in-game stuff that you can collect. We're starting the 2015 Midsummer Fire Festival, which is always one of the super popular holidays, and this year specifically there are 3 new items to get. There are 2 toys and a pet. If you want to get all of them, that is 1,200 blossoms total. And the new items are the Burning Defender's Medallion, which is a fire elemental disguise, the Blazing Cinder Crawler pet, which is a fiery spider, and the Cozy Bonfire, which looks like one of the fire flames you see from Midsummer, and it increases your spirit. And there's also nothing new, but if you have Spear Blossoms, you can get the armor casing heirloom upgrades for level 90 and level 100. So that's pretty good for a holiday, having
certainly
all that
not.
extra stuff.
Yeah, certainly not bad. And of course, to get the Burning Blossoms, all that you have to do is go, there'll be like an NPC in front of the fire, and you either talk to the NPC or you talk to the fire. I can't remember, but it's super easy. It's like a travel quest. There's a lot of add-ons that you can get if you want to see exactly where they're all located. And Wowhead also has guides, of course. But
we've got the map with all the little pins.
With all the little pins all over it, yeah. So it's a pretty easy. It's just more of a time sink than anything else. But you could definitely get it if you weren't max level, which is pretty fun. And then of course Lord Ahun makes his appearance during Midsummer Festival, and this year he has eye level 670 loot. Which is like capes, and then he also has that awesome frost scythe, which everybody always wants. And then
the use effect gives you all the snow.
It's
That's
so
super
cool. And he also drops, I don't think we noted it on here, but he also drops the little coal guy.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
The Frigid Frostling.
The Frigid Frostling. Yep, that's who he drops. And of course, you will need the Midsummer achievements in order to get your Violet Proto Drake. So if you're working on the Oh What a Long Strange Trip It's Been, you will need this. And the title specifically for finishing all the Midsummer stuff is Flame Warden for Alliance and Flame Keeper for Horde. Did I forget anything? I think I did.
No, that's pretty good for the basics. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the other things you can spend the Burning Blossoms on. If you don't want the new things, you can collect the Vestments of Somerset, and they're not transmoggable, but they look really cool. The robes give your hands this fiery effect, the boots so to put your feet on fire. There's a halo from the Thief of the Fire Festival, which makes you sneak into the enemy cities. There is a tabard from killing Ahun, so there's a orangey one, and then there's a frosty one. And if you're curious how many blossoms you can get, we did the math in the Wowhead guide, but if you do all the dailies, kill Ahun every day, and loot all the bonfires, you can get over 1,000, but if you slack, you won't get as many, obviously. So just keep in mind that some items are account-wide, so you don't need to collect all the blossoms on one character. Like, one character can collect a pet, and then another can do all the easy bonfires and get one of the toys, and a third character can do the same, easy ones that don't take super long to travel to. And there's a lot of good stuff you can get with Midsummer.
Yeah, there was a lot of new stuff. I was surprised to see, 3 toys and 2 pets? That's a lot, like, for a 2015 update. So definitely.
Yeah, the heirlooms are pretty nice too.
Yeah, that's true too. The heirloom casings are nice because now with the heirlooms capping at 60, you can use the casings to level them up to 90 and then 100. So very useful that you can kind of get those for free because they're very expensive. You buy them out of pocket, $5,000. Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, with all the gold garrison mission nerfs, you might want to think about saving your gold a little more, not just throwing it at
We will
heirlooms.
talk more about that soon. Moving on to 6.2 stuff, of course, Hellfire Citadel came out this week, and Wowhead has raid guides for all of the bosses, which includes information on trash, screenshots of all the harmful abilities, and tips for each role, whether you are
There is
tanking.
a ton of trash.
There
just looking
is!
over those guides.
Yeah, it's
like,
it's serious. Hellfire Citadel is a huge raid. It has 13 bosses, which are split up into 5 wings, I believe, and they are available on 4 different difficulties. Well, not yet, but they will be available on 4 different difficulties. And if you're wondering where Hellfire Citadel is, it is located smack dab in the center of the Tanan jungle. Loot from Hellfire gets harder as you progress through the raids, so normal starts at like 690 and goes all the way up to 705, and there's always the chance for wardrobe Warforged and sockets and stuff like that. Hellfire Citadel drops tier 18, which will give you armor and set bonuses. And then there are also class-specific trinkets that drop off of the last boss, Archimond. And Hellfire Citadel trash is personal loot. And how big of a controversy is this, Perk?
It became pretty big yesterday. This was something we asked about in our interview today, actually.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it's meant to prevent pug leaders from sort of just putting stuff aside for them. And the idea is that if you're in a guild, you should be able to have enough trust to where if you get an item and it's intended for the guild bank, you can hand it over.
Yeah.
You're not meant to, steal it and have it be BOP.
Yeah, people are going to need to have some guild meetings, though. People are going to have some guild meetings and be like, hey, guys, you need to pass that because that is for guild revenue and alts and etc. Because we're seeing, you're seeing it drop and people aren't really sure, well, is it all personal? It is all personal. So a good guildie needs to pass that to the master looter.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the layout of Hellfire Citadel because a lot of people were asking me about this.
It's weird.
And the guide writer, Dayani, had a really good summary of like what bosses you can kill when, because it is kind of disorganized. So I'm just going to read what she said because it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the Hellfire Citadel raid is partially nonlinear, allowing players to choose a progression path at several key decision points. After you defeat the first two bosses, Hellfire Assault and Iron Reaver, players may choose between Karmrock or the Hellfire High Council, Kilrog Deadeye, and Gorefiend Wing. Upon gaining access to the Nexus of Souls when you defeat Gorefiend, players can choose freely between Iskar, Sokrathar, Fellord Zakun, and Zolorak. You must defeat Sokrathar to gain access to Tyrant Velhari. You must defeat all 5 of those bosses to reach Manaroth, and then you must defeat Manaroth to reach Archimond. So Karmrock's kind of like this optional boss off to the side, and then midway through the instance, you can choose between a few, but Tyrant Velhari is mandatory, requires Sokrathar to get to that. So hopefully that made some sense. A cool Reddit person made a graphic of that all, which we've included in the overview guide, if you prefer it in image form.
Yeah, and there are some really cool rewards from Hellfire Citadel, like, for instance, if you defeat the entire thing on Mythic, you will receive this Felsteel Annihilator mount. He is a reward for downing Mythic Archimond, and he's pretty awesome. You'll also get the Defiler's End title. There's also a pet, the Corrupted Nest Guardian, that drops off of Shadow Lord Iskar on all difficulties, and I've already seen one in the auction house, and it wasn't as expensive as you would expect. It was like $7,000, which isn't terrible.
Nice.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So that is
That's
already
a pretty good drop rate.
That is already dropping. Pretty exciting. And then, okay, so the gem cutting is a little weird. I am not a jewel crafter, but you are, so I feel like you should talk about this, because I am a scribe. I know nothing, Jon Snow.
Okay, so jewel crafters, if they do a special quest line in Tanan Jungle, unlock this Apexis Gem Cutter module, who wants you to collect these recipes from around the world, and then when you bring him materials, he'll craft you epic 75 stat gems. So one of them is from Shadow Lord Iskar, the critical strike one. So what you do is you have to go kill the boss, get this module, bring it to the guy in Tanan, and then when you bring him all the mats like the gems and the Fellblight, he can then craft you epic gems, and there's a small chance that you will eventually learn the recipe and don't have to travel out to find him. So this is something that just jewel crafters can loot from the boss, and you don't have to loot it every time you want to craft a gem. It's just a one-time thing.
Gotcha. There's also a really cool achievement called A Race Against Slime, which requires players to defeat Kilrog on normal or higher difficulties without allowing Ariak to die. So it's sort of similar to the Flamebender achievement where you can't let that dwarf guy die. It's similar in that way. And then if you don't let him die, you also get him as a follower.
Yeah, and he's a pretty cool follower. You might have remembered that he just sort of heroically saved everyone in early Tanan and sort of like, soloing all the, the evil Iron Horde. So he's cool that he returns, and he has a trait that he can, has very high increased success rate when soloing a mission, which sort of ties into his character.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
That's really, really neat. And then the Iron Reaver is an important boss because he will drop equipment blueprints for your shipyard, right?
Yeah, more on that later. But yeah, he drops one of the equipment blueprints for something you definitely need for one of the legendary questline missions. So if you want 100% some of the missions, go in and kill Iron Reaver.
Gotcha. And then each Hellfire Citadel boss has a unique achievement that counts towards the glory of the Hellfire Raider, which rewards the Infernal Direwolf mount. And if you've already been around Tanan, you might see some bosses padding around on a really cool green wolf felly kind of mount, and that is the one that you can get for doing all the Hellfire achievements. So worth such a cool mount.
Yeah. This next one is one that we've talked about before, but I really like. So Archimonde drops 3 pieces of transmog gear that resemble his own armor.
Yeah.
And it's a cool trend because we've seen in Throne of Thunder, Lei Shen, you could get his crown, or with Garrosh, you could get his pauldrons. So now Clothies can get the Demon Prince Ascendant crown, the Mantle of the Eridar Lord, and the Demon Buckle sash.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've shown it a couple times around here. You can see it in the model viewer on Wowhead. It's really, really neat. And then, of course, just like in Blackrock Foundry, there will be an item that allows you to teleport to Archimonde once you've proven that you can defeat the other bosses on a lower difficulty. That is the Well of Souls item, so it'll require that you defeat Gorefiend 4 times. And is it just Gorefiend, or do you have to down more than just that?
So far, it's just Gorefiend, and the wording is vague, and it's like, hey, you can teleport to the upper level bosses, so I don't know if there's going to be multiple quests, and people haven't gotten to them yet.
I did get one of the Gorefiend items this week. Man, Hellfire Citadel is tough.
I know.
It's a lot tougher than I was expecting. Like, my guild was clearing 10 out of 10 heroic Blackrock Foundry, and we were into some mythics in Blackrock Foundry as well. So we thought we could just, we're all like 690, 695. Some of us are even close to 700. We thought we would just go into heroic first night, no problem. What a joke. I think we gave it about a half hour, 45 minutes of attempts, and we're like, let's just look at the fights on normal. For science and research, let's just do normal for a night and see how this goes. And when we talked to Watcher today, he actually did say they nerfed Hellfire Assault a little bit, because it was tuned a bit too hard on heroic, but it's tough, man. It's not I like it though. I like that it's not super easy and that it requires some challenge to get through.
Yeah, it won't just fall over right away, which I think is good because, new content, people should enjoy it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But even like one of my guildies and I were discussing that even like guilds who were like clearing Mythic haven't cleared Heroic yet. So it's nice that they added that level of difficulty. And of course, with 6.2, aside from Hellfire Citadel, is the legendary quest line. The completion of the legendary quest line. You want to talk about that? You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, and I can talk a little bit about it.
Beans.
So, in this patch, you can continue with the legendary quest line, and there are eye level 735 ring rewards, and you can get that by completing a series of naval missions that require a level 2 shipyard, as well as looting Tomes of Chaos from Hellfire Citadel. And we have an awesome naval missions guide, which we'll talk about when we get to the shipyard. But what I thought was really interesting, and this wasn't PTR news we discussed before, is that Blizzard made a blog talking about how after you do all this, well, I guess brief spoiler alert, Cordana, who is Khadgar's bodyguard, apparently turns against you, and you must fight her for the final step. And we've got some sound files of them, which, I don't know, they sound pretty interesting. I don't know, did you see this coming? I was pretty surprised by it reading the blog. Like, this person that you've been helping the whole time that seems pretty cool is just like...
never see betrayal coming. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like in real life, in game, everywhere, I just assume everyone has the best intentions ever. So when I saw this in the notes, I was like, no way. No, not Cordana. She wouldn't do that to me.
I could even play some of the sound files if people want me to.
Ooh, don't do it. Just in case people don't want to hear spoilers.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoilerify them. But you should definitely go check it out on Wowhead.
We put that in the guide at the bottom.
Yeah, if you're watching the VOD of this, I'll have it linked in the info below if you want to hear those sound files. I don't want to spoil it for those who don't want to hear it, though. But that is... whatever, man. And then I talked about this a bit in Downtime Tuesday, but I'm super excited that the completion of the Legendary Quest gives you a monument.
I know, it's really sparkly, too.
It's like a ring, and it's all floaty and stuff. It just feels all very, like, my precious. I like it a lot because I don't have a monument yet. I really want to get the pet battle one, but there's a big time sink to get the pet battle one for sure. And because I'm a scribe, I don't craft a lot of stuff, and I don't really use my bonus rolls on tier or anything like that, so I don't have the crafting one either. So I just have a pathetic empty pedestal where a monument should be.
Well,
So-
3 really, because it's a level 3 garrison, which is just sadder.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in. The salt right in my wound. There were some other hot fixes this week. You just added these. Well, this week they were hot fixed today to be added in on Tuesday, correct?
Yeah, they wanted to give people a heads up because they didn't want to do these now because some people might have already, been saved to lockouts to get loot that wouldn't have been as good. So they wanted to implement these when all the raid restarts happen. But it's really cool stuff. One is that you can triple the chance that a mythic dungeon item can be upgraded to Warforged. And that's really cool.
That's super cool.
It's not just like a 6 eye level boost. In a mythic dungeon, your loot can go from eye level 685 to 705, which, 705 is like, Kazakh level or end of normal Hellfire Citadel quality loot. So that's pretty good.
That's good loot. And it really gives incentive because they're tough. I did a couple with some guildies earlier this week, and they're not like mind-numbingly hard or anything like that, but they require you to do things properly. You can't just outgear them and steamroll through them. You really have to do mechanics, and they're not quite as hard as challenge modes, but they're significantly harder than heroics. So it's nice that they're adding that extra chance to get mythic, because someone like me, there's not a 685 that's going to be an upgrade, but there's a lot of 705s that would be an upgrade, and it just gives more incentive to get those better geared players in those mythic dungeons, which it's beneficial for the people who designed those, obviously, but it's also beneficial for the community that you're going to have better geared people, more experienced people in there doing it. So I was really excited when he told us that today.
Yeah. Another thing that they're doing, which I saw people discussing on Twitter, was that they are increasing the number of set pieces that drop from set bosses in normal and heroic Hellfire Citadel, and that will be on personal loot and group loot.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds good. I know a lot of people have been complaining that they thought that the loot was way too sparse. So, yeah,
we only had
that's a
2
pretty good
set
change.
pieces drop.
Oh, wow.
Raid, and we had like 30 people in our raid. That's really crappy.
That's
So that's nice too. And then the last thing was that you would have an increased chance of getting an item when you use the Seal of Fate. So
yeah, that's like the old, like, if you're doing tier 17 for whatever reason, I guess you can get that loot faster.
Yeah, it's the Tempered Fate, not the Inevitable Fate. So it is for the older stuff, but that's still super nice because
you're on sale.
Yeah, if you're
Clearance
at the,
sale.
if you're at the point where you're still in Blackrock Foundry or even High Mall and you're bonus rolling, like, you should have a better chance at getting that gear at this point, because it's not obsolete, but it's a stepping stone to getting to
they don't want
content.
you stuck in there farming an item in Blackrock Foundry when 6.2 came out.
Which is super nice. And there was another hotfix, right?
Yeah, this actually went live because it doesn't affect it's not affected by the raid lockout. But with the Time Walking Dungeon, which we'll talk about more in a second, there are Warforged variations of those items, which can be 675 instead of 660, and they increase the chance that you get the eye level 675 version, which I think makes a lot of sense. It goes back to the mythic thing. They want people in there feeling like they're getting useful items. They want people that have some decent gear doing it. They don't want everyone saying, oh, well, I got a better item just from Tanan Jungle, so I'm not going to do this cool content.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really nice that that's an extra way to get a seal too, since you're very limited as to where you can get them and how many you can get them. And in the beginning of any raid, you're going to be using them a lot more. Like right now, I have a ton of seals of Tempered Fate because I haven't needed a bonus roll in weeks. But right now, I'm bonus rolling, even on normal, any tier boss, I'm bonus rolling and stuff like that. So it's nice that this is an extra chance. Plus, the feels and the nostalgia. And then since we're talking about items and stuff, I think it's a nice reminder that there are also eye level 650 baleful items from rare spawns in Apexis, in Tanan. You can upgrade those to 675 or 690. No, they can be they can auto upgrade to 675, and then you can manually upgrade them with Apexis to 695. And there's also weapons from treasures that can be 650 or 660. So if you are looking to do some catch up stuff, Tanan is a great place to go. And also soon, not quite yet, but in your shipyard, you will eventually be getting missions that will reward you with bind on account baleful tokens that you can send
I don't
to
know
your
why
alts.
they're both called baleful, but
It's
shipyard
confusing.
tokens are BOA.
Yeah.
And apparently if you get the Call to Arms satchel, they're BOA, but if you get them from Apexis or the rare spawns in Tanan, they are not BOA.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a little bit broken if they were BOA from Tanan, because you get so many of them. It would be like Timeless Isle all over again.
Yeah, just the names being the same, I think, is confusing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, get your baleful BOA item, they're awesome.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but you guys can get it. I know you can. And then, okay, we're going back to time walking now because it's so exciting. This weekend is BC time walking weekend. And, I know nobody cares, but I started playing in BC. So, like, BC instances are so special to me, and I'm super, super excited to be able to go back and run Arcatraz, the Black Morass, Manitomb, Shattered Halls, and Slave Pens. All of your gear is scaled down to eye level 95. How adorable is that? That's so
I'm pretty
great.
excited about this, actually.
I am so excited about this. On Wowhead, they actually have a thing where you can go and click your gear and you can see what it will look like for Burning Crusade time walking if you want to see what it scales down to. You can even use like your legendaries with cool procs. So if you want to go put your legendary cape back on, you could do it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do things like Warglaives or to see the cool Burning Crusade gear I saved.
Yeah.
Back when I was raiding and be like, oh, I'm going to go put on my tier 6 and my Dragonspine trophy and my Cursed Vision.
Yeah.
And,
just go back to real show-off status. I get it.
Yeah.
Perk was a real hardcore raider back in the day. Like, real hardcore. Like,
before my job took up all this
her
time.
GM would beat up your GM for sure. So I'm also excited about that. I love the idea of being able to put on some different gear that just kind of brings back feelings, because I save stupid stuff like that. So that's going to be really fun. And you also don't have to be max level to do it, correct? You only have to be like 71 or higher. So this is a cool opportunity to play with friends who maybe aren't max level or leveling up alts, stuff like that. And if you complete 5 dungeons, you will get a Seal of Inevitable Fate, like we said earlier, which is also very, very exciting.
That's really good timing, how there's a new raid, and the first bonus event just so happens to be something that rewards you, something that can help you out in the raid.
For sure. And then there's also special iLevel 665 gear that resembles Burning Crusade gear. And there's a lot of really cool lookalike Tier 1 and Tier 2 recolors. So this is another cool catch-up mechanic if you have some under-geared alts. But then it's also cool if you enjoy transmog. I feel like this is something that could really just bring everybody together.
Yeah, I mean, like, we both were playing back in Burning Crusade, but I know a lot of people, maybe some of you here are watching, you started in Mists of Pandaria or Warlords, and you didn't really have a reason to go back and do those instances, so, for us, we're like, oh, these transmog sets, we're so used to them, but you might find something, cool and exciting, or be like, hey, what's this achievement I got? Oh, I can get, like, a mount if I do all these. It's cool just to go back and discover old things, and the Outland ones are really useful because, like, we're an alternate drainer, so you can see what the original timeline was.
Yeah, I just really like so much of WoW becomes obsolete. Every time there's a new expansion, like, all your gear sucks, all your gear is worthless, you have to go re-gear all your epics and greens and blues, and you just see all of this stuff that was so important and meaningful become less important and less meaningful. So I love that they're doing something, even if it's just for a weekend, even if it's just a special event, that kind of makes it important again. And it's, I don't know, for people who have been playing a long time, I feel like the nostalgia factor is huge. I feel like a lot of people are just really excited to go back and do content that, like, this was their new WoW experience, and now I have a lot of feelings.
I'm okay if it's easier too, because I mean, it shouldn't be a pushover, but I like how you can say, oh, back in the day, remember when we wiped here, but now it's like, oh, look, we're doing it with friends, and we can just relax and talk about what it was like back in the day, and relive the glory days without wiping like the 3-hour molten core 10th anniversary experience.
You used to have to see CC is a thing, kids. Crowd control is a thing. Like, mages were expected to sheep unless they were really good.
Things,
you were sapping
and sap could break, and then they would like cleave, and that would be sad.
Listen, if you were a priest or warlock and you feared anybody, you're just getting kicked from the group because that one will surely run into another one, and you can't pull two things. That's not how it was. It was just the glory days, man. Back in my day, we had to walk uphill both ways. And of course, Tanan. Tanan is probably the biggest implementation of the week. I mean, obviously 6.2 came out, but Tanan is like the place to be. All the cool kids are in Tanan. And Perk put together a wicked guide, let me tell you.
Yeah, if you were paying attention a few weeks ago, we were featured in the launcher for our Tanan video guide, and I put all the research and notes I did for that into a mega written guide, and then several spin-off guides on like how you do the dailies, how you do the garrison campaign. We've got a really awesome guide to all the rares you can find there. So yeah, Panzer made this awesome video, and I made this awesome written guide, and you can learn pretty much everything about Tanan with those things. So
Berg and I have only recently started sleeping again.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the equipment, because that's something that's really popular on Wowhead, but you know, if you wanted to talk about something specific in Tanan, just say something in Twitch chat and we will get to it.
Yeah,
but,
let me
there's
flip
just
over.
so much stuff.
Yeah, I made a slideshow of a bunch of the really popular things that are being talked about on Wowhead right now, because people want to know where they can get the blueprints for their ships, for their shipyards. So I made this slideshow, and this right here is Belgork. He dropped the equipment blueprint for the bilge pump, and you can find him northwest of Hellfire Citadel. This is Fellsmith Demorca, and she drops the Fellsmoke launcher blueprint, and you can find her northeast of Hellfire Citadel. This is the Savage Whale Shark. He drops the blueprint for Trained Shark Tank. You can find him in the northeastern part of Tanan in the water in the ocean. This is Zug the Heavy. He drops the equipment blueprint for the True Iron Rudder, and you can find him in the southwestern portion of Ironhold Harbor. This is Sindril the Wildfire. He drops the blueprint for Ice Cutter, and he is found just west of the Fell Forge. He looks a little better in game, I promise. This is Captain Ironbeard. He drops the equipment for the Ghostly Spyglass, and you can find him in the cave in Western Zormarsh, and he'll be wearing like a beard thing and a hat. And this is Zanzith the Everlasting, who drops the blueprint for high-intensity fog lights, and he is on the eastern side of Throne of Kil'jaeden. And you know, I know you have a little more to talk about this, but when I was doing these models, I thought it was so adorable how well every piece of equipment that they dropped matched each rare that dropped it. Like the guy with a million eyes is the high intensity lights. Like that's so
that
cute.
is very clever.
The ghostly spyglass drops from the dead pirate. Like it's just really, really clever.
Yeah, the fire guy has the ice.
Has the ice cutter. It's little things like that really tickle my fancy. But there are some other blueprints you will need, and they are acquired from reputations. The blueprint for the Tuskar fishing net requires Honored with Hand of the Prophet or Vol'jin's Headhunters, depending on which faction you are. Does that cost gold?
Yeah, it's 220 gold.
220 gold. And then the blueprint for Unsinkable requires Revered with Hand of the Prophet or Vol'jin's Headhunters, and that will cost you 900 gold.
Yeah, and just to talk a little about how those two work, the fishing net means that when you complete a mission, you get fish with it, and Unsinkable, because your ships can be destroyed, if for some reason you really want to hold on to your ship, you can take up one of its equipment slots with Unsinkable, and if your ship would have been destroyed, instead of being destroyed, the Unsinkable shield just goes away. So ships really aren't that hard to level up. Like, there's no 90 to 100 or eye-level things, they're just uncommon, rare, epic.
Yeah.
But if you really want a combination of stats or whatnot, you can put Unsinkable on it. Just do keep in mind that you won't have as many things on the ship that can increase its success chance, which means it's more likely to fail.
Yeah,
so
no good. You don't want it to fail.
Yeah.
And then there is, that's all we have to speak about in the terms of blueprints as of right now.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's super popular on Wowhead right now and that people are really interested in is Draenor Pathfinder, which of course is the meta achievement, which will allow you to fly in Draenor. A lot of people are really excited about this. Draenor Pathfinder, if you want to find out, first and foremost, let me just get this out of the way. If you want to find out where you are on your route to Draenor Pathfinder, you can go to wowhead.com/flying. You put in your character and your server, and it will come up with a list of things, and it'll tell you what exactly you need to do to get flying in Draenor. The new 6.2 stuff that was added for this achievement were the 3 Tanan factions. You will need to be revered with the Saberstalkers. You will need to be revered revered with either Hand of the Prophet or Vol'jin's Headhunters, depending on if you're Horde or Alliance. And you will also need to be revered with Order of the Awakened. Revered, I'm trying. The Saber Stalkers is a grind out rep. You'll go to Fangri-La and you'll kill mobs and elites and rares there, and you can complete a weekly quest that will give you a buff that will increase your Apexis gained from everything. There's also a daily quest, right, called Tooth and Claw.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed to be up every day,
Gotcha.
but when it is up, you get like 1,500 reputation, so it's a pile of reputation.
Gotcha. And then the Hand of the Prophet and Vol'jin's Headhunter rep, you'll get friendly just from doing the introductory quest in Tanan, and then you will have several dailies that you can complete every day. The Order of the Awakened will give you, I think they actually give you quests that will require you to go kill rares and loot treasures. One of them requires you to kill, I think it's one quest and it's an item that can drop out of treasures or rares, right?
Yeah.
Like okay, that's what I thought. A little confused. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's probably good if you don't really want to open everything right away. You can just loot the treasures when you're on the quest, and don't go crazy and loot every single treasure on one day. You can space them out.
You can space it out because you're gonna need to do them anyways. And then you can also speed things up. There are 4 guys in Tanan that are called Champions of Hellfire, and they have a chance to drop an item called the Medallion of the Legion, which gives you at least 1,000 rep with every Draenor faction, more if you have a trading post that's level 3. So that's pretty awesome. And you can also get a lot of cool things along the way. Like there are 4 different mounts, 2 pets, 3 followers, like so many toys. So many toys, and a lot of on-use items that are really useful, like the Brazier of Awakening. You can put down before a wipe and it will res someone in the raid. There's a lot of really cool stuff. There's a thing you can eat that's called like the Sitgana mushroom brew, and when you're out in Draenor, it makes everybody a podling. Then you can also loot an item that turns you into a podling, so just everybody is podlings.
There's even like these transmog sets that you get revered ones, like Ceremonial Caribor, and the others are Frostwolf sets. So I know people have wanted those for ages, especially the Horde one, because the Frostwolf clan is awesome.
It's super nice too because they had originally made them transmogs, and then they changed it to a vanity toy, so it doesn't matter what kind of armor you wear, you can still have the appearance of a Frostwolf or a Caribor, which is super, super awesome. And let me go ahead and were you scanning chat while I was talking endlessly, or do you want me to do that now?
I'm scanning a little bit. Someone's bringing up the Spirit Lodge and Mage Tower, which we were going to get into in a few minutes, actually, when we talked about the shipyard.
Yeah, we will talk about that.
Someone is saying that you're crazy if you use the medallion. They sell for more than a WoW token on my server, and yes, that's a great point. The medallions can be sold. I didn't know they
sell for that much.
So,
I have regrets for using mine. I don't know. I don't, though, because the way I figure is that I don't think that everybody is rushing to flying right now. Like, some people are, some people aren't. So I'm not gonna sell mine until I'm already revered.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah. Client Killa 276 says there is an item that lets you travel as a flame really fast for about 20 seconds. Forget what it's called. It's really awesome.
It's like an Eye of the Legion, isn't it? Doesn't it let you like a flaming eyeball?
It's like Skull of the Mad Chieftain.
Yeah, Skull of the Mad Chief. Yeah. That's what it's called. Yeah. I asked people on Twitter for what kind of questions we should ask Watcher during our interview, and somebody actually asked, and it was someone from my guild. Shout out to Oki. He said, "What is your favorite toy in Tanan, and why is it Skull of the Mad Chief?" It's pretty great. I like that.
Well, his avatar is an eyeball, and
it's true.
That looks like an eye of Kilrog.
It's true. Well played, sir. Well played. There's a lot of good toys in Tanan, though. I like the one that turns you into, what is it, it's not the vial of red goo. It's the one that turns you into the big bulging orky guy, and then he can jump really far.
Oh wait, that's the one that's actually not a toy. He's the throbbing blood orb.
Yeah, that's super, super cool.
I like the toys. Ghostly disguise because since the guy was an orc when he was alive, he has the orc dance even though he's a skeleton.
I made a video for that to put on the Wowhead channel, and I just completely forgot, because right now, pretty much any undead or skeleton or anything like that in-game has the undead, like, headbanging dance, but now we have this new ghastly skull costume dead pirate thing, and he dances like an orc. He does the hammer time dance, and he's an orc skull or a skeleton. And I thought that was really, really clever that they stayed true to what he was before he met his untimely demise. Perk and I were on the PTR, and I was filming her, and I'm like, all right, now turn around, now dance. And she started dancing and did hammer time, and we both just died laughing.
Yeah.
Neither of us expected that at all. So that was a really fun one to figure out.
Yeah. So we should talk a little bit about the shipyard,
Sure.
because that is the most popular thing on Wowhead, and we've got this huge shipyard guide, which the author of the Worlds of Draenor follower guide written, so you know it's good because the follower guide has like 7 million views. So he did the same thing for the shipyard, and we were going to talk about the legendary questline because that's the most popular topic we've been seeing, but again, if you want to answer questions on some other things, we can totally do so. So just to recap the legendary questline, you need a level 2 shipyard for the missions, and they each take 2 days each, but they can go faster with a Blood Elf or Night Elf crew, or mission completion orders, and we did confirm at the interview with Ian that it is intended that mission completion orders from the Mage Tower work on the shipyard. You won't have an infinite supply of mission completion orders forever, you'll run out of oil, so, you know, if you want to use a stack of the orders now to speed things up, you know, they're happy with that. But besides that, you don't just go on missions, you also need Honored with Hand of the Prophet and Vol'jin's Headhunters to unlock the battleship, because that's needed for some of the legendary missions. And the final mission, you get a high chance of success when you use a carrier, which is what you get when you have a level 3 shipyard. So if you try it without a carrier, there's a high chance you might fail. However, if you hit Exalted with Order of the Awakened quickly, whether, you know, via dailies or Medallions of the Legion, you can buy this special reputation ship that acts like a carrier with this unique Arakoa crew trait. So if you don't have a level 3 shipyard, but you are Exalted, that can be a way to make sure you get better at completing that mission. And we talked a little bit about all the blueprints you needed earlier in Tanan Jungle. And in this guide I wrote, I broke down what all of the threats are and like what blueprints you need specifically for the legendary questline. And there's only 6, I believe: the Bilge Pump, the Blast Furnace, Fell Smoke Launchers, Trained Shark Tank, Gyroscopic Internal Stabilizer, and True Iron Rudder. And all this information is in a separate guide I made that goes over the sample setups for each naval mission, because on all of our Wowhead mission pages, we talk about how there's like a section where you can put in ships and see what the success chance is. So I did that, and you can link to that and see the exact setup, and like you can play around and counter and put your own ships in, all that good stuff. So it covers that, as well as the Expert Captain trait, which is really unfun.
Unfun.
Yeah. It's not like follower things where like you increase your success and that's fine. Like you have to have like 3 ship traits to counter 1 Expert Captain. So it's mean.
Yeah, you'll have that. Now today, Perk and I had the pleasure of interviewing lead quest designer. Is that his title? Ian Hazacostas?
No, he's lead game designer.
Lead game designer.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm giving him demotions left and right. Lead game designer Ian Hazacostas, better known as Watcher Dev, and we talked quite a bit about the Garrison Gold and Salvage nerf. So before we get into that, I did see a question that came through on my Twitter about a bug with time walking, and because we actually found this out today, I do for anybody who's watching. Right now, if you're in time walking and you lose a party member, you can't get a new party member. That is not intended. That is a bug, and he said that is currently their second highest priority to get it fixed. So that is not something that will permanently be in the game. They're working on it. They're working on rolling out a hotfix as soon as possible. But back to Garrison Gold and the Salvage Yard nerf. This is some things that are that's causing a lot of salt in the community. There's just salt everywhere. Of course, they nerfed the amount of gold that you can get from garrisons because it was hurting WoW's economy. That people were making more money from their garrison than they were from, you know, the whole PvP auction house game, and so, you know,
going out in the world, you know,
farming,
doing things instead of just
actually doing things.
Yeah.
So in an effort to both help the economy and get people out of their garrisons, they nerfed Garrison Gold in 2 ways. They reduced the frequency of high-value gold missions appearing across multiple characters on your account. And they also made salvage crates less common. So, I mean, I've noticed, I would say it went down to about 20% of what I was getting before. I mean, it's way less. And then also, when you do get your salvage crates, the gray items that you salvage from them are stackable rather than...
Yeah, it's the same thing. You don't get, like, so-and-so's foot and so-and-so's eyeball, and now my bag is filled with gray items.
Yeah, which is nice, but man, it is a lot less gold. It is a lot less stuff. I actually, as far as the salvage yard nerf, I was more upset about the fact that when you got these salvage crates, you could get this really cool gear that sold really well in the auction house, or you could just keep like glimmering mail. The glimmering mail set dropped and stuff like that. Stuff that you don't see drop often, that doesn't show up in the auction house often. I was keeping it. I was being selfish. So that's actually what my big gripe about that was. And then also in the whole let's nerf the salvage yard, let's nerf the gold, they also increased the frequency that missions would reward abrogator stones or elemental runes for your legendary quest line, for those of you who have not caught up to current content, which is nice. That was buff. That was a buff.
Yeah, so that's a buff. And the naval missions also have, they can also drop those items. So, 2 ways of catching up if you don't want to do high mall.
Yeah.
Or foundry.
But they nerfed the gold. And we will get it. If you're interested in how all that works, I'll be uploading our interview in like a day and a half. I just have to edit it. But he went into detail about how the gold nerf specifically works. He said that one character won't affect another character. That's just not... He didn't... Or I guess I didn't comprehend exactly how the algorithm for all that works, but
yeah, he didn't exactly lay it out for us. He didn't want people trying to second guess it, so he was kind of vague, but he just explained why they had to make the change.
Yeah, and he did say that like don't be afraid to level an alt to 100 or to log into your hundreds, because that's not the way the equation works. One character doesn't affect another character. He said basically you can get X number on each character, and then the chance to get any additional ones is what's been nerfed. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. And it sounds like as unhappy as the community is about the salvage nerf, the devs are really happy with it.
Yeah, and just if you're tuning in now, we did film an interview with Ian Hazakostas earlier today. And we did not stream it just because we can be more polished and, do cool things where we type out the questions and put them up on the screen. And that's all going to be up tomorrow. And we asked him lots of questions about like Hellfire and professions and garrisons and Tanan. And, a lot of the questions people asked in the comments, we asked where the Pepe costumes were and models and
he didn't
things
tell
like
us.
That. Yeah. But yeah, you will see all of that soon.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that's the only question he didn't answer. Like, we asked some legitimate, like, what about this terrible bug in game? What about this, that, and the other thing? And he asked, he answered every single question. And, like, some of them people are going to be excited about with the answers he gave. And then we were like, what about Pepe costumes? He's like, that is disclosed information, top secret, can't tell you, this message will self-destruct. And we're like, really? The Pepe costumes is what you can't talk about? Like, so I think people would be really happy with the questions we asked, because we did a good range between, I mean, obviously I think we didn't cover anything PvP related because that's not really his area of expertise. That's more of a Holinka department. But we covered some raid stuff, some Tanan stuff. We talked about things that he wouldn't want to talk about, like bugs and things that
the mailbox bug.
Yeah, the mailbox bug. Things that were intended for 6.1, 6.2. So I hope that you guys do enjoy that when we put it up, because we, in Perk and Panzer fashion, we obsessed about all the questions that we asked, and Perk ordered them all super nicely and color-coded them for us to ask, and I still managed to screw that up, but... Colors are hard, okay?
You were pink.
I know. How did I not realize that? I'm like, Perk, it's your turn. You're like, no, it's not. So, well, we don't know. At Glacier Wolf said, so wait, are the Pepe costumes in a different patch? That is not the vibe I got. I think they're like hidden. I think it's like kind of like Talon of the Void Star, where like you'll have to find out on your own. I don't know. I didn't get the vibe that they were delayed. I got the vibe that he wasn't telling us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if they exist right at this moment. Or like, I don't know. Like, maybe they'll just flip. Maybe they'll be in, like, the 6.2 point X patch.
I keep calling it 6.2 point flying. 6.2 point
flying. We did ask about the transmog interface progress, and they said that it was soon, but, like, more of a real soon versus like a soon TM.
Yeah, because I said, oh, so I'm glad to know it's still in the works, even if it's on the back burner. And he outwardly was like, it is not on the back burner. That is a priority for us. And I asked about like bag space, like that we didn't have enough bag space, that we didn't have enough bank space, and maybe could we have that 16 slot bag be replaced? And he said, well, if you're finding a need to find extra bag space and you need bigger bags, that's a bigger problem in game. And he more than once said a transmog system would solve that.
Would help, yeah.
So it seems like that is a bit a priority.
Something they're actively thinking about.
Yeah, like it seems like it's something that's being actively worked on, and I was kind of expecting a canned answer for that, you know? I was kind of expecting people do want that.
Yeah, I was really happy to hear that, especially because you don't usually, I was like, oh, here's a long shot list. Let's ask Ian about transmog, even though, I associated him with raids and all the, class balance. And he was happy to talk about that.
Because I specifically said, oh, so it's on the back burner. And he corrected me, was like, no, it's not on the back burner. It's being actively worked on. Yeah. So I thought that was a really exciting thing to hear, because a lot of us have backspace issues. My void storage is full, my bank is full, and my bags are about always 3/4 full.
Yeah, I just hate opening salvage, because when I do, it's like, oh my god, what just happened to my bag?
You'll get something good, and then you have nowhere to put it. Yeah. So, but that was really exciting, and I think there were a lot of questions that he clarified from the Q&A, and we got a lot of good answers. I didn't like the part when he told us we needed to donate some of our clothes to Goodwill. I didn't appreciate that part. Don't tell me how long I need to keep my clothes. And you guys will see more what we're talking about in there. We'll take a minute here. We'll kill some time if you guys want to ask us any questions about 6.2 or Tanan, or
like if you don't know how to find something on Wowhead, or like if you're like, can Wowhead do X? I can be like, yeah, totally can. Like, So as you're looking for that, just in the interim, as a reminder, we have a big survival guide to everything on 6.2, and a ton of people worked really hard on it. I wrote some guides. Serene, who's the content manager, wrote a ton of guides. Dayani wrote all of the Hellfire Citadel guides and all the Time Walking guides, and they're really awesome because she tested every single boss fight every session, has like tips to everything, pictures of everything that can kill you. The devs did a great job with making all the data really easy to use, so check that out. And if you comment,
got a couple videos in that guide.
You did a 39 things video, not a big deal, Tanan video guide. So you can just link with whatever you're most excited about on that post, just link to something that's on Wowhead, and you can enter to win a Magic Rooster mount, which is a super cool and expensive trading card mount.
Yes. Somebody asked what we thought of Feral in 6.2, and I only know a little bit about this because Nick plays a Guardian Druid, and I know that the thing he's most excited for is apparently, I can't really speak too much about Feral, but like Guardian, like Bear Druids, I know that their 4-piece set bonus and 2-piece set bonus in tier 18 is really good, and he's really excited about that. So that's what I got for that. I don't play a Druid, but there, I tried.
Someone asked about, can I link the equipment guide? And if you go to the super popular shipyard guide and you go to the table of contents, you're just like, Control-4 search. If you just type in equipment, there's a whole section outlining where you get everything from.
Yep.
So, pretty straightforward there.
Can you kill Supreme Lord Kha'Zix without access to Tanan Jungle? Well, the thing is, Tanan Jungle is not gated. You can get to the Tanan Jungle without a shipyard. And I suppose you could be summoned to kill Kha'Zix, because it's not like those are phased guys,
right?
But it's not the optimal way to do it.
Right.
I mean, I certainly would recommend. I think Tanan is worth doing. I think it's like a much larger and more, I don't want to say intuitive, that's not quite the right word, but it's a better thought out and better planned version of the Timeless Isle, and it's enormous. So you only have to do about 30 minutes of questing from your garrison to get to Tanan, so it's not a really huge investment to get there, and when you get there you can get a lot of things that are useful, whether you are a raider or not a raider, a casual player or a hardcore player.
Like it will really help getting Draenor Pathfinder done, because you need your faction hub to access the dailies. And I suppose you could hit Revered if you buy a bunch of medallions of the Legion, but it's obviously a lot more efficient just to go quest for 30 minutes instead of buying thousands of gold worth of
the answer
items.
is yes, you could theoretically be summoned there. You could Aviana's Feather there. I think you can run in from Talador, but it's not optimal, is how I would answer that. So yes, but you shouldn't.
Crashing Bananas is asking what is the eye level of Time Walking gear. So if you're level 100, when you zone out of the instance, your gear will be eye level 660, and there's a chance for it to be item level 675.
Yeah.
because we mentioned that you can queue for time walking if you are lower level, you'll get a lower item level piece if you're level 90, for example, and that item will not scale up to 660 as you level up. It's not like an heirloom.
Yeah, it would be cool if it was, though.
Can boss spell ICDs be added to the spell pages? Maybe if you want to email or tweet me with an example of a spell you want to see something on, let me know. I know we do a lot of spell stuff for Warcraft logs, and if they make requests, we usually add it. So if you think that something should be there and you don't see it, I can show it to a dev, and we can see if we can pull it from the data.
CCC 38941 asks, why are normal raids open before LFR? And I think the reason is that at the end of the day, World of Warcraft is a game that is intended to be played with guilds, with other people. It's like that community feel. So I think they want to reward people for being in that type of environment. They want to make sure that raid guilds are able to progress faster. And I think it also has to do with gating the legendary quest. People who are raiding 3-4 nights a week should get the legendary ring faster than people who are just doing LFR.
Yeah, it's meant to encourage you to do things in a more organized fashion as well. So if you put the effort to do stuff with your guild, you can experience and see the scenery and like the cinematic and, just be like right in on the action at the start and start getting your gear faster than someone that's doing something that is just a queue random matchmaking that is also easier. You
can always use the custom groups to try to pug a normal raid. There is always that option, especially with the trash drops being personal loot. I think it is set up in a very conducive way for pugs, and I know a lot of people say, oh, well, they won't let me in without gear, and Tanan is set up in a way that you can really gear out a character who's fallen behind fairly quickly. And with the additional chances to get gear with Seals of Tempered Fate and stuff like that, I don't think it would take you that long to get the gear to get yourself into a pug if that is the place you're at in your gameplay.
Cool. Glacier Wolf is asking if the 33 books of whatever that Cadgar wants for the legendary quest, can those drop from work orders like Rogator Stones did? From PTR testing, people are saying no, so there's no work order option, there's no naval mission option, there's no follower mission option that PTR testers found. So you have to go into the raid to do it.
Yep. This might sound stupid, but where do you turn in your Hellfire Citadel tokens? Well, tokens, if you're speaking about tier 18 tokens, they don't work the way they used to work in past expansions. Tokens now can be used as soon as you drop them in a means similar to like a Baleful token, where you just right click it and it makes a piece of gear appropriate for your spec or for your character, because the tier gear will respec with you. So you don't have to hand it in at all. If you're talking about tokens as in seals, if you have them on you when you down a boss that is relevant, a little box will pop up on your screen and you'll either choose, roll or pass.
Passive Taunt is asking how to gear into Nan with new characters. My gear is so bad I just got my butt kicked.
Use custom groups.
Yeah. So, custom groups will help, but also in addition, you can go around and using our Rares and Treasure guide, there are treasures that have weapons that are eye level 650 that can be eye level 660. Mm-hmm. So I would just sort of go around and get those from areas that look safe. The vendors in Storm Shield and War Spear also drop, they used to have items that cost a Pexus, but now they cost gold. So if you have a lot of gold, you can get like eye level 670 items, which, they're pretty nice.
That's
you can, time walking is pretty easy, so you can run some of those this weekend and get eye level 660 or 675 gear.
You can also grind out Apexis in easier zones that aren't Tanan, and then you can use those Apexis to buy Baleful tokens in Tanan. But I would say that the fastest way to do it would just be to go into custom groups and find a group that's like grinding out one of, you know what I mean, that's in an area, whether they're doing bonus objectives or whether they're doing quests or grinding out Saber on rep, because just from killing creatures and looting treasures, you'll get a ton of Baleful tokens. Tons. Yeah. And that 650 right off the bat, it has a chance to be epic 675. So I think your easiest bet would be to go into custom groups and get into a group. And because people are looking to do all those quests in like 5 people groups anyways, and they're not looking for specific gear. It's not really, it's not hard, and like just having 2 people makes it so much easier, even if one of the people is really poorly geared. So definitely custom groups. And all the other things Perk said.
Wowhead, so is there no way I can find what my tier 18 set bonus looks like as a feral? You can actually go to our item set page or just look up the name of the druid set item, and it will say the set bonuses for all specs. And I believe if you click on the token, like Shoulders of the Vanquished, whatever, there'll be a tab and it will say, this item creates the following mage, rogue, druid, DK items, and you'll see the item listed there. So, you go to, like, armor, leather, shoulders, look at the epics, see which are for druids, and you'll be like, oh, Oathclaw Mantle. And then you go down to the tooltip stuff on the left-hand side of the page, and you'll see 2 set feral, increases the chance for Moment of Clarity, etc.
I think there's links in that big in the big 6.2 survival guide. I'm pretty sure there's links to the tier sets too.
Yeah, we have a Hellfire Citadel loot overview that goes over what all the bonuses are for things like all the tier 18, all the trinkets, all the LFR set bonuses. We also break down by slot, like, which bosses drop the gear for your spec. So we'll have, like, a cloth section and being like, this guy drops the helm, this guy drops the spirit shoulders, so that's pretty useful.
So it looks like that's about it for the questions. There were a couple questions about PvP, but I don't think Perk or I are particularly well-versed in PvP.
I know, I know a lot of people are saying, where's the PvP interview? This happened last week, too, when Ian did the interview with, like, the dev interview with Lore, and I know Holinka was tweeting that he understands that there are PvP concerns. They did a PvP interview pretty recently, and they want to do another. He also wrote this huge post describing upcoming Ashran changes and sort of the state of PvP, which is in our news post from today, I believe. Yeah. So, they are listening, they are caring. It's just, we're interviewing Ian. He's not really he's not doing PvP stuff.
Yeah, that's just not his area of expertise. And I know a lot of people have questions about, like, PvP gear being gated behind Ashran, which is kind of almost like a PvE PvP zone. So I know that, like, there's concerns in that area, but I don't like to talk about things that I don't really know about from firsthand, and I don't participate in max level PvP, although I would like to. I just don't have the time. You have to get a whole nother set of gear.
The pieces look cool.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on the thing. So what I would make sure you do is if you're interested in PvP stuff, make sure you're following Holinka on Twitter, because he'll obviously be tweeting out anytime that he's doing an interview and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you can get, like, a more personal sort of feel for what's going on and when. That's about it for today. What do you think, Perk? Any last thoughts?
Someone's asking about Baleful tokens being random, and I'd say that, like, there are, 5 to 10 Apexis crystals. I
feel
and,
you
like,
have very bad luck if you have 11 weapons and nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, RNGesus is not blessing you.
Yeah, it's only a few days into the patch, and, like, on our time on the PTR, we got so many Baleful items. I don't think it's as bad as Timeless Isle, because when you upgrade them to 695, you already see what the random stats are, so I think it's better than the Burden of Eternity, where you just had to upgrade a token and then you're like, oh, I don't want these secondaries. So
piece,
at least you don't have to waste all the extra Apexis upgrading an item only to discover that you don't like it.
Yeah, I saw one more question too that was about the black market auction house near Garrison. That is going to be tied to a shipyard quest, a shipyard mission to get, like, the waterlogged black market auction house journal, and then you go hand that in, and then the NPC will eventually come to your garrison. It's not just, like, ported in from nowhere. You have to do the shipyard quest first.
That's a pretty good idea, set trip in. I'm not sure, but I'll see what the devs can do. They like doing things that would be useful to help lots of people. So
yeah, Weak Wars is pretty popular too. And then someone else asked about Aviana's Feather not being usable in combat. And it's funny because I never used Aviana's Feather for a combat reason because I'm on a PvE server. But I got in an argument with someone on the internet because I was on the PTR, and they're like, yeah, but you can always, like, Aviana's Feather out of a PvP situation. I'm like, you can't use Aviana's Feather in combat. Are you crazy? Because I was, like, literally on the PTR at the time and couldn't use it. So I guess, like, for me personally, I'm not hugely affected. But I guess in a way, for people who do enjoy World PvP, that's probably a positive change. Because that was probably annoying.
Oh, wow. That's funny to use in Eastern Kingdoms and Ghostlands. I want to go to some really tall peak, like Hyjal now, and see how far I can get across Kalimdor with Aviana's Feather.
Aviana's Feather is just the funnest item. It just really, really is. It's funny because when I did the Tanan video, obviously there's no flying. So anytime you see me flying over something, it was either on a Flightmaster zoomed way into first person or Aviana's Feather. And I have some of the most hilarious outtake footage from Aviana's Feather zooming all the way in and then hitting, like, Hellfire Citadel has a huge invisible barrier around it. So, like, I don't know if that has to do with why they have to delay flying a little bit, because it was clearly not designed with flying in mind. You cannot fly over it. You can only fly around it. And so many times I was, like, recording kind of mindlessly, and then I'd just be, like, slamming into this invisible wall and not moving. So...
Yeah. Sinister says, are there any prereqs to get the heirloom ring missions? You need a shipyard to have that, and they're a rare chance to show up. They're also hidden behind the special type of mission called a blockade mission. And basically there are these 4 naval quadrants, and each quadrant has a blockade that literally blocks several missions that you can see behind it. And they respawn every 5 to 7 days, so you have to first defeat the mission, which can take a while, and then you have a few days to complete the other ones behind it. So if the heirloom one is up, you'll definitely see that it's behind the blockade. It won't just be the surprise. There's also an heirloom trinket that you can get from follower missions, and I believe it's a follower item level 675, and it's also rare. So, you know, just have a few followers that are up there. On the Wowhead mission page for it, it shows you the threats you need to counter. So, you know, level up followers that can counter those specific things for the void trinket, and you should be good.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we're about out of time for today, because we've gone about 15 minutes, but we usually shoot for 45 minutes to an hour. We're at about an hour and 15 minutes. But thank you so much for all of your questions. If you have any more questions you would like us to answer, every week I usually try to take a few questions from the Wowhead comments of the VOD and the YouTube comments of the VOD and have them set aside to answer during Wowhead Weekly. But because we did a giveaway on last week's Wowhead Weekly, there was like 8 billion comments and none of them were questions. So if you have a question that we didn't answer that's something we can answer, feel free to leave it on the VOD, whether it's on Wowhead or on YouTube, and we will maybe get to it next week. But thank you. A ton of you guys are watching. Thank you so much, everybody who took the time out of your Friday evening or afternoon to watch us talk about the World of Warcraft. And look forward to our interview with Watcher. I'm pretty excited. He did accuse me of asking a softball question, though.
But that was the one question he wouldn't answer for us. That was Pepe.
So it's so funny. So I hope that you guys do enjoy that, because we really tried to ask questions that you guys wanted the answers to. And thank you again for watching, and we will be here next week. Same time.
Have a great week.
Same
have
place.
Fun with 6.2.
Yeah, everybody have fun. We'll see you later. Bye.